PJNet.TV, Part 2. It's 9:30. We are running the bumper. We have the titles ready. We have JD ready. We are recording and we are streaming. So let's switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to PJNet.TV, where we are about to take a trip around the Cross W. Behold, JD's brand is his brand, and we are glad to have JD on the team. Folks, if you're in the PJNet.TV chat room, you are my heroes. But I tell you what, there are folks out there, you may be watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, and we are certainly glad that you are spending your time with us, and we hope to make it worthwhile. But we do invite you to come join the chat room over at PJNet.TV. If you're using a desktop or a laptop, go on over there where you can interact with some fellow believers as well if you would like. But we every day do this exercise where we take a little trip around the Cross W, and the curator himself of the Cross W Ranch is JD. And he comes to us from the great state of Texas, the town of Cooper. How you say it? You don't say Cooper,
Texas.
You ain't from Cooper. That's for dang sure.
You ain't from around here, are you?
No, you could probably get in some serious trouble there. Saying things like Cooper.
Well, they look at you a little funny, don't they?
They'll know you ain't from around there. That's for darn sure.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Well, where I'm from, if you're one of the native folks here, you're either kin to the Walkers or the Cooksies. Mm-hmm. And if you ain't kin to the Walkers or the Cooksies, they know darn well that you ain't one of them. And now you better not say anything about anybody, because they might be kin to the Walkers or the Cooksies.
Everybody's a cousin somewhere. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And they can talk. Yeah, they can talk about each other, but don't you talk about them. No, doesn't work out. Anyway, JD blogs at jdwininger.com. Now, he's blogging on Wednesday, if I recall, and it's always good. It usually involves something. When you're out there ranching, you're doing more than ranching. You're out there seeking God.
Well, yeah, it's easy to do, Coach. He's all around us all the time. We just have to learn to sit back and listen for him.
This week, your blog talks about, and it ain't Rusty's the one that had the cleft palate, right? But there's
Rowdy.
Rowdy. I knew it started with
Rowdy
an R.
Has a cleft palate, yes.
Oh, Rowdy has the, yeah.
Cleft palate, yes.
All right.
And he's doing wonderful. He's gaining weight. We have to feed him about 8 times a day, but he's off of the bottle, and we're no longer bottle feeding him. We're feeding him rations about 8 times a day. He finds that he's kind of like a raccoon, Coach. He likes to eat a little bit and then go wash his mouth out in the trough and get everything all wet and comfortable, and then he'll go back and eat some more. So we feed him about 8 little cans a day of feed. But yeah, he's starting to round out and gain a little bit. He's going to be fine. We thank God for our buddy Rowdy.
I have never known a cow to be prayed over until now.
Well, sir, every head of cattle here on the Cross W for sure gets prayed at every morning. I feed them and I talk to them by name, and most of them I'll pat on or feed them a cube, just hand them a cube. They eat right out of my hand, and then I'll let them go about their business, and I'll just give them a good checking over, and I talk to God about each one of them. And what would he have me do with this one today, or what's going on with this one or that one, and things. Right now, I've got them on a pasture farthest away from me. I've got them on a 30-acre pasture because I plowed my big pasture in the back this week so that I can get ready and plant some summer forage. So they're farther away, and they don't know that they want to go to that new feed lot and things that I've got set up for them. So I have to give them a little coaxing each morning. So I come in one side, and I got to drive to the other end, which is about a half mile. And every 30 feet or so, I got to stop and feed one of them. The kids going, come on, follow me. And they eventually do. But that way I'm able to just get eyes on everyone, make sure everybody's doing all right. It's like I posted a few weeks ago, one by one. First thing I do every morning is take out the field glasses and count cow butts and make sure I've got the right number out there.
Well, Rowdy got himself in a little pickle, according to your blog.
Well, Rocky did. Rowdy's doing all right. He's
you got to come up with names that don't start with R. I'm easily confused. We got Rusty, we got Rowdy. Jeez.
Oh, we've got the G's and the R's this year.
Okay.
We've got Giovanni and Giuseppe, and yes,
I think your wife must have had something to do with that. I just know it.
Oh, absolutely. She names all the cattle after her family members, and that works for me. But anyway, old Rocky, some of y'all may remember we talked a post a month or so ago, because he's only about 5 weeks old now. But he's often running and playing and hightailing all around like little calves do, except he spied over in the next pasture to me. He spied some yearling steers, which are over there getting ready for the feed lot. So we fatten them up, and we call it a gain program. So for every pound the cow gains, when it goes back to its producer, we get paid so many cents per pound that they gain. And usually it's a profitable 4-month effort. But in this case, they're all 600-800 pounds in that range. They're yearlings. They're over 12 months old. So they're the big guys, and they're all fellas, and they're running around, and they'll come to the fence and talk to my cows and things, and they'll sniff each other through the fence and whatnot. But I had a loose wire, 4-wire, next to the bottom, and Rowdy decided one afternoon he was going to stretch that thing because he wanted to go to the greener pasture. He wanted to go over there where some wheat was still remaining and things, and go visit the boys. Yeah. So he goes over to see the fellas. So he just makes his way through the weak spot in my fence. And I'm looking, and I'm hearing him crying, and I can't figure out why. And then I look, well, dum-dum, what are you doing over there on the other side of the fence? You can't get to Mama that way. Of course, Mama can't fit through the hole in the fence. So I go, okay, well, I'll make the hole bigger, Coach. This makes sense, right? If he goes through it, he'll come back the same way. So I take baling wire, and I stretch the wire more and make it bigger. 2 hours goes by. He walks by it. Him and his mama, they're just mirroring one another up and down the fence line, east and west. 2 hours, and this little ding-a-ling ain't figured out how to get through there yet. And I'm going, okay, well, let's try something different. So I take a flake of hay, or put out hay, and get all my cows up in the small pasture right next to this hole. And I lay a flake, or just one little part of the square bale of hay, right in the hole, Coach. The little ding-a-ling puts his head through, puts his shoulders through, puts his front legs through the hole, eats the hay, and then backs out and cries because he can't come across. My favorite 4-letter acronym, you know that, don't you, Coach? YCFS?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, you can't fix stupid. That's right. So I'm going, and I know that the little calf is fine. If he doesn't nurse Mama, for a day or two, he'll be okay because he can eat a little grass and things. Now, he's, like I said, he was 3 weeks old at the time. And I said, he'll be okay. So it's getting dark and dinner's ready. Diane's been holding dinner on me, So I've had enough fun for this day. So I go in, and I'm sitting there at the dinner table, and I keep thinking about that little calf, and I'm hearing him, and I'm hearing Mama beller, So about 8:30, and it's nice and dark out now. And I flashlight in or spotlight in hand, and out I go. And okay, let me get him back in here. Problem is all the bigger steers want to visit too. Now I can't get the little ding-a-ling to get through the hole in the fence, so I walk quarter mile or so and open the gate. Problem is, all the big fellas want to come over and visit my girls. And I'm going, okay, so I got to chase him away. So I've got my rattle bat out, and I'm smacking the ground and I'm rattling it. It rattles like a rattlesnake will, and a cow doesn't like that sound. They'll shy away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, problem is, every time they'd run away, Rowdy would too. See, now you got me doing it, Coach. Rocky would too. And finally, they got tired of playing the game with me, and they all went over and bedded down in the trees for the night. So that left me and Rocky, and I'm going, okay, I've had enough of you. It's about 9:15. I'm fed up. And so I start the ATV, and I start him up the fence line, headed west. And he'll go about 20 feet and then try to get through the strong, tight wires. And, of course, he ain't going to fit.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll just stand there and bawl, and I go, come on, ding-a-ling, and I'll whack him on the butt a little bit and get him moving. But I've got him going up this fence line. Took me 30 minutes to get him that quarter mile or so. But he gets to the gate, and he just stands there and looks stupid. And I'm going, you stubborn little bugger.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, Mama calls out. I get his mama to call him. And as soon as she lets out a big bellow, he goes a running. He zipped through the gate, and of course I get the ATV and the gate closed right behind him. And it was funny because then Mama's standing there by a berm, and of course, first thing little calf wants to do is nurse Mama, right? Let's get a drink. I'm hungry. Well, that lasted for about 10 seconds, and then she took her rear leg and just kind of pushed him away. And nope. And then she'd move away 20 feet and she'd yell at him. Mm-hmm. He'd scamper back over, and he'd go to nurse again and she'd kick him away again. Move about 20 feet and yell at him. All this time she's moving him closer and closer into the middle of the pasture towards our pond. And, she'd just given him what for. And finally gets him there, and then she lets him nurse. And it's all good, she's a good mama. She didn't start out that way. She just knew this was my first calf. This hurt. I'm tired. I want to rest. I don't want to take care of her baby. But we got her through that, if you remember that learning to nurse post, like I said, 6 weeks or so ago. But she's been just a great mama, just like I knew she would be. Well, the next morning I go out to feed, and I've got all my tookuses counted, and everybody's where they belong. And here comes old Rocky, and he comes up. I'm sitting in the ATV after I put the feed out, and he comes up and he puts his little head. He just lifts up and sets his head on the leg, and he kind of looks at me with them old cow eyes. Says, "Papa, I'm sorry," And of course I'm rubbing his pole and going, "It's okay, you ding-a-ling. You didn't know any better, but next time, stay on your side of the fence." Well, needless to say, I fixed the fence, but I said, "Okay, Lord, what's my lesson for that?" And the lesson is, it's so easy to just run off because temptation is so strong. You just see it, it looks good, and you just go for it, And then you've got to find your way home. And don't you do the same thing with me when you fall into sin? And some people, we don't accidentally fall into sin, Coach. I believe we just we go head first right into the cesspool, just dive in, and then we come out all smelly and gunky and messy. And okay, Lord, can you let me come home now? And he's faithful to always forgive us and always help us find our way back to him if we're sincere. I wonder sometimes how tired God's got to be of all the different times I have to go, "Father, let me come back home. Can you forgive me?" but he's always faithful, like his word says, and he forgives us, Coach. So that's kind of the impetus or the lesson I took away from Rocky the calf and his big adventure a few weeks back.
Well, the first thing I observed, JD, is the adage that's kind of worn out, but I think you point out the everlasting truth. The grass is greener on the other side.
Yes, sir.
Now, in this case, the grass actually was greener on the other side.
Well, he knew what the grass on this side of the fence tasted, right? He eats that. He eats the hay. He eats the feed. But he didn't know what the other side of that fence held for him. So it was enticing. It's a big adventure. And Satan does the same thing for us, doesn't he?
Well, for him it was, but he's wanting to play with those older boys, and they're a little past playing age, and he couldn't get them to play along.
Oh no! He thought it'd be cute, let me just hightail. Do you know what hightailing is? You've heard that term before, haven't you, Coach?
Well, it was usually associated with deer. When they run, the flag goes up, and there's actually a reason for that. Is they're white, and that way their young can follow them in the dark.
Yes, sir. That's one rumor. I prefer to believe as a rancher that it all started with the cow, because when calves are young, they finish nursing and they're full of energy. Mm-hmm. And to burn that energy off, they stick their tail straight up in the air, Coach, and they just run circles around the herd. And they're just running off energy, and we call it hightailing. And that, to me, is where it came from. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Coach.
The other observation that I made is that he knew where home was.
Oh yeah.
And the third observation I made, and it kind of reminds me of the prodigal son. There's so many lessons in that story. But the mama cow, from what I read and what you just said, I didn't sense that she was in great distress. But at the same time, she was yearning, to restore the closeness, the fellowship that would be natural between a mom and their offspring. But she seemed to stay calm.
Well, what's amazing, Coach, is when a calf is first born. Before Mama cleans them, Mama licks them off and cleans them up and things. She starts talking to that calf, and they talk back and forth, and they just low groans and utterances, and they make sounds, and they learn each other's voice. So Mama can be clean across the pasture, 40 acres away, Coach, and she can let out a bellow, and her calf responds, just like Jesus Christ said, my sheep know my voice, right? And they will come a-running. So in this case, when he was calling out for Mama, I don't think Mama was overly stressed. She was just calling, I'm here, son, I'm here. It's okay. Come to me. But he couldn't figure out how to get back to the fence to come to her. And so little Rocky, he was pretty stressed out. But no, I don't think Mama was overly stressed, but she was just giving him reassurance with her calling, with her bawling back to him.
Well, and then there's also the notion that when we put distance between us and God hadn't moved. That mama cow stayed on her side of the fence. The distance between the two wasn't put there by the mama.
Yep. No, she stayed right there on that fence line with him. Mm-hmm. And when he would walk east or west up and down the fence line, she would mirror him. She would follow him. God does the same thing. He stays close. But we have to return to him. He's not going to come get us unless we invite him to, Coach.
Well, this again reminds me of the story of the prodigal son, because the father apparently had means. He was quite well enough to do, and when his son, he could have hired private investigators to go hunt him down and bring him back. He could have pursued him. But at the same, but for some reason, and I'm sure there must be a lesson there. It was up to that son to return to the father.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, sure.
And so many times I know I've worked, with friends of mine, parents, who wanted to go rescue their children from, whatever. And what it gets down to is they wanted to control their movements. They wanted to control their environment.
Yeah.
And I always gave them what I thought was sound advice. Is you need to pray for them, okay?
Yeah.
But the day's going to come when you're not going to be here to manipulate their world. They're grown now, okay? The best we can do is teach them how to make the right decision and pray that they do and pray them through it. But we can't make decisions for them because at some point they are going to be on their own. And we have now it's easy to give that advice, but I have a daughter, and sometimes I had to heed my own advice, and it is tough as a parent because we will do anything, to protect our young if we believe them to be in trouble. Go get them out of the bar, go, drag them out if you have to, but it's tough. It's tough.
But let me ask you this, Coach. Are you protecting the child, the calf, whatever you love, by always bailing them out and always coming to their rescue? Or do you sometimes have to let them learn those hard lessons of life for themselves and come to understand that there's consequences for every action, every decision you make comes with a consequence, good or bad. And sometimes some of the best lessons I've learned in this whole life came from making the wrong decision. How do I learn to make right decisions? Make lots of wrong decisions and learn from them. Yes, sir. So it's not good, at least to this old cowboy. It ain't good to spoil the child by rescuing them all the time. Sometimes you got to let them struggle a little bit so that they learn the lesson. They learn to problem solve themselves. Hope that helps, Coach.
Lasting change has to occur from the inside.
Right.
Okay, I do not smoke today. The reason I don't smoke today has nothing to do with the availability of cigarettes. It has nothing to do with it. They're everywhere. But I've made a decision down here. You got to get from here to here. It's only 18 inches, but it can be it can be like a mile.
It can be a tough road to hoe.
Yeah. So as parents, sometimes we want to impose change, exercise our authority. When they're young children, well, we're just bigger than they are. We can physically restrain,
you can impose your will.
You can impose your will because you're bigger, you're stronger. And then later we try to manipulate their environment. But I think there's lessons to be learned when you see this story of this little 5-6 week old venturing out. But Mama just stood her ground and said, "Come on home. Come on home. I'm here for you. I'm here for you, but come on home." And the scripture says Jesus knocks on the door.
That's right.
Now, Jesus can walk through doors. He's done it. He's walked through walls. But he doesn't. He waits for us to invite him in.
Absolutely right, Coach. He has to be invited. I think the other lesson that I took from this event was how important it is. My job is as caretaker around here, and how important it is for me to be a good shepherd to my livestock, to my, and not just my livestock, but my family. And it's up to me to lead them and to help them. Now, sometimes, they're going to get into deep kimchi and they're going to be in trouble. And I want to be there when they find their way out, or help them to find their way out. But I can't go I can't go get them. I can't go walk around to the other side and lead them through the gate all the time. I can just reassure them that I'll be there when they make their way back home. Fair enough.
You're right, JD. What that reminds, and we're way over on time here, but that reminds me.
I'm sorry, sir.
When I talk, well, it's my fault. I'm doing this. I can make this end at any time with a click of the mouse. I can exercise authority over this. I have dominion.
Brother, fellowship is a wonderful thing. It just time stands still when you're good fellowship.
Yeah. But when I talk to people about making commitments, to be a part of this team like you have done, one of the things I try to interject at some point is, please don't let me talk you into this. And if I have to talk you into this, I'll probably have to talk you into it again and again and again, because if I can talk you into it, someone else can talk you out of it. And right. I'm just not a good changer of diapers on adults. I really don't need high maintenance members on the team because we're here to strengthen others. And if you don't have a strong team member, well, how can you strengthen? How can you give that which you don't have? How can you push a rope?
Yes, sir.
You can only pull.
Understand.
That reminds me of that story. My father-in-law was a deputy, and I'd go out riding with him. There's this guy walking down the sidewalk, pulling a chain. We kind of thought that was odd, So we pulled over, and my father-in-law gets out and say, "Hey, what you doing? Pulling that chain?" He says, "You ever tried to push one?"
That ain't right, Coach. Oh goodness.
He had some other problems, but anyway. Well, gee, I can't wait to hear what the Cross W Ranch is going to inspire us next week. But folks, you can get a glimpse of that. You can get it here, of course, on Thursday night, but you can go to jdwininger.com. I'll put it up there one more time. And you can read his previous blogs and things he's learned, how God speaks to JD through just ordinary circumstances, tending to the ranch. And his blog will be there this coming Wednesday. I can't wait. I don't read a lot of blogs, but I sure do read JD's. And JD, we're really glad to have you as a part of the PJNet.TV team. And we always get a blessing anytime you share with us, and we appreciate you sharing with us tonight.
Yeah, the blessing is mine, Coach. Thank you so much for having me again this week. And sure glad those technical difficulties are behind you, my friend.
At least for now. Yeah. All
folks,
right.
In the chat room, thank you, everybody. I'll come visit with y'all in just a few minutes. Thanks, Coach. God bless.
There he is, around the Cross W. Special invitation tomorrow night. Steve Hazards 4 will be running the program. As he does, it gives Coach a break, and it gives me a chance to tear things down and build things back and do any needed maintenance, which seems to be the case lately. Folks, we dodged the bullet. We are back, but I will say this. We are looking into some options to get a better internet connection. That's going to be easy. I live in a very remote area, and it's hard to get anything, but I saw just how vulnerable and how fragile this whole arrangement is. I actually have two DSL lines that work together. It's called a bonded connection, and one of them went out. So I still had internet, but not enough to do this. Okay, and we barely have enough to do this even under optimal circumstances. So we need to put a little headroom in there because, as many of you know, we are growing. Folks, if you would have come here a year ago, you would not have seen 13, 14, or 20 people in the chat room. You would have seen 3 or 4, maybe 5. And I appreciate each one of you that invests your time to be here, not only to be blessed, but to be a blessing. Because you are a blessing to each one here. Your participation is the difference. It makes all the difference because we can invite people. And I hope that you will do that. Okay, this is the best kept secret on the internet. Let's not let it stay that way. You can invite people and you can confidently say, I promise you when you get there, you're going to meet some great people. And I can confidently say that. And you all constantly prove me correct. Well, folks, I have been called into work tomorrow. I'm supposed to be off, but they've called me in, so I won't be staying up late tonight. But we will get the highlights videos done before the weekend is up. I'm just glad that we can do this, and had a rough time last night, even with Emily, because things were going wrong. And we're going to have Emily back, because I don't feel like we really gave her a fair shot to share her story. I was very distracted. But she helped get us through it, and I appreciate her. And her husband Mark, I see, has been in our chat room. It's just good. It's just everything's good, folks. I'm at peace, and I hope that you are too. Thank you for your endurance, your long suffering, and your support and your prayers. I'll leave you with 2 questions, as I always do. The first question is, what is the boldest thing you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And then the second question is, when was that? You see, I challenge myself, and I hope that you will challenge yourself as well, to never be satisfied with either answer.